In the southern winter of 2022, I sailed my 1989 Pacific Seacraft Creelock 34 named Sea Change from Panama to French Polynesia and on to Fiji. In episode 5, I sailed east from the check-in port of Savu Savu to the atoll of Wailagi-Lala, and here I sailed down the Lau or eastern group of limestone islands.
Well, it's noon on Saturday the 17th of September. We have had a champagne day of sailing. Easterly 12 to 15 knots, and we were on a beam reach the entire way. And now we're getting close to Vanua, Balavu, which is this huge complex of islands here. This end over here is called the Bay of Islands. It's supposed to be beautiful. And we now need to head up a little bit so we can pass the reefs over there and the reefs over here, which you can't see. Here you can see some of my backup rigging, chains with wire clamps, cable clamps, and then massive supports from sheets and halyards and car die downs and all sorts of stuff. It's all glory flapping away nicely up here. And otherwise we have staysail and jib flying. Jib is perfectly working here by the telltales. Here's all the anchoring paraphernalia, the buoys and floats for floating the chain, and then the special anchor for anchoring in coral that Ian Watson gave me, called the coral pick. You use the buoy and a line to pull it back up. All right, I might be here for 5, 6, 7 days.
At Vanua, Balavu, I first stopped at the village of Dalekoni on the west side, where together with the French and Italian crews of 2 other boats, I did Sevu Sevu at the chief's home, although only his wife and daughter were there to accept our gifts of carver roots. The village is neatly kept, with a Methodist church and a translated Bible, and a local guy offered to sell us bananas.
Bringing down this huge banana stem here for 5 of us to share. Wow, amazing. That's sacrifice of the whole tree just to get this head, but it's a huge head of bananas. My goodness. Look at the size of this. We're going to split it between 5 of us.
The next morning I sailed north to the Bay of Islands, a lovely collection of tiny eroded limestone islets.
It's Sunday, the 18th of September, after a day at the village of Dalekoni, doing my Sevu along with 2 other boats. We are now, the beautiful sail made it to the Bay of Islands. You can see the little islets here. I'll try to zoom in. We'll be going all around and in between. You can see a sailboat at the back there. And very tricky navigation, but we're still in deep water here. Avoided all the coral so far. It's all wooded here, no local people living here. There's some beautiful little limestone islets that have been eroded. Apparently there's hundreds of them. And Dalekoni is back behind us, you can't see it. Oh, there's a gorgeous little beach with palm trees. All right, lovely day, absolutely beautiful, blue sky, sun high so that I can see the coral. I've already avoided a couple of coral heads and I see some ahead. Well, I am safely anchored in 25 feet deep water in very nice sand. The anchor is already mostly buried. This is the Bay of Islands. I'm going to give you a 360 here. Absolutely gorgeous. All these little limestone islands eroded by the water. You can see we're at about low tide. Here's, I got 2 floats on the chain just to make sure we don't catch on anything, but actually the only bommy I'm worried about is this one here. You can see maybe that it's got a little bit of yellow at the top. Well, right now at low tide, that's 4 feet deep. I stood on it with my shoulders out of the water. I don't think we can drag over there, and the wind direction should keep us off it. It's still Sunday, the 18th of September, and I'm not sure you can see, but we have literally thousands upon thousands of flying foxes, fruit bats, leaving this island at the back there and flying over us. I just cannot get the camera to focus on them. Still Monday, 19th of September, and I have found where the tens of thousands of fruit bats hang out, at least one of the places. These are the close by trees, but look at the trees behind. Let me zoom in a little bit. Absolutely loaded with fruit bats, just thousands upon thousands of them. And they're all active, they're all, flying. There's one flying around and talking to each other. And this is having been active all night because they only came back at dawn. In fact, first light, the skies were full, just like at sunset. It's truly amazing. How can they be awake all day and all night? Well, quite a sight.
Sailing around the northwest end of Vanua Balavu led to Mumbavatu Bay and the idyllic little Exploring Isles Yacht Club.
Well, it's still Monday, the 19th of December, and we moved round to a bay called Mumbavatu. Almost sounds like a Xhosa or Zulu name. They have a B, you put an M in front of it. And this is the Exploring Isles Yacht Club, which is all closed up, but it's closed, but it's all wide open, the building, the deck and everything, and apparently they don't mind us using their moorings. There's 3 of them here, and lovely flamboyant tree here in front, and the rest of the bay, incredibly well protected bay. And then way at the back over here on the right, you might be able to see another mooring, tiny, it's actually a huge white mooring, put a ship on it. And a little dock there. And apparently that leads up to a plantation with a path way up the top of this hill here. Whoops. Where you can then get a view back down to the Bay of Isles. And those 2 palm trees are where there's a magnificent house on the top. So hopefully I'll do that tomorrow morning. It's way too hot now to go and do it. It's the middle of the day. What is it? 1:30. All right. Nice place, very comfortable, on a mooring, going to be a nice quiet night.
The huge plantation, now owned by an Aussie businessman named Tony Philp, has sheep, horses, cattle, and a tiny village of employees. From the top of the hill, one can look back down over the Bay of Islands and then also over Mumbavatu Bay.
Well, it is Monday, 20th of September. And I am on top of the island of Vanua Balavu. I'm looking down an incredibly steep cliff. Even as a rock climber, this gives me the heebie-jeebies. And into the Bay of Islands. Wow, it is so spectacular. You just cannot believe it. Here's where the islands themselves begin. And in the middle there, zoom in, you see a super yacht, which has been here for several days. And in front of it, where that sort of darkish patch is, and then a light patch, is the bay where the other 3, or the Anchorage where the other 3 anchored. And between the super yacht and them, that little inlet smack in the middle of the image now to the right, that's where I was anchored. Wow. There's a tropic bird flying into the cliff here. And I step back a little bit because I'm getting a little bit of height alertness. And there in the distance you can see the reef. And I'm forgetting the name of the island and the distance there, but if you see its reef, it extends miles out from that island. Had to sail between the two reefs. Don't want to step over the edge here, but let's see if we can see. Yeah, there's a wide open pass to come into Dalekoni the other day. I just came through up the hill here from down there, looking at the bay. And here's one of the homes for a bunch of his workers. That's him with the white t-shirt walking away, Tony Phil, the owner. This unbelievably magnificent setting over Mumbavatu Bay with the easterly trade winds blasting through here. Hurricane Winston absolutely demolished the house up here, and you can imagine why. And you can't see our boats because they are way down underneath here, which is where the yacht club is. Way in the distance there you can see a tiny little cove. Really peculiar. There's actually a white mooring in it. There's no way you can get a sailboat in there except maybe a extreme spring high tide. But just look at this. Well, his frangipanis have not done well. But look at this house. He's rebuilt it completely. It was originally built in 1896 by a German guy. It's a T-shape with a flat concrete roof. It was all destroyed, so he has rebuilt it and added a plantation house roof with a veranda. Just a gorgeous place. And invites me to come and sit on the porch. And of course, Fijian flag flying high. And look at the reef out in the distance. That's where I'll be going, probably not tomorrow, the wind's still too strong, around the end of the island there and down and head out south.
Along with the French and Italian boats, I made a pit stop at the village of Loma Loma on the east side of Vanua, Balavu for diesel and mangoes, while my share of the delicious sweet bananas, as always, all ripened on the same day. An overnight sail further south past a tiny, quintessential, inaccessible desert island led to the large island of Lakemba, where on the west side there is an unusual anchorage in sand 60 feet deep outside the fringing reef, with dinghy access to a long deserted beach.
It's Friday, the 23rd of September. I'm in a very unusual anchorage. This is the island of Lakemba, and the anchorage, believe it or not, is outside the reef. Kind of hard to see, but you see the light color there, that's the reef. And the inside there you can see a little swell about to break. See if it goes white. Oh, come on. That's actually right next to the dinghy entrance. There you go, a little bit of white as it breaks on the coral. It's high tide now, it's spring high tide. But this lovely deserted beach, and lots of new cone snail shells, and down at the end here, that rocky point. That rocky point there, found a little octopus, a little moray eel, and 3 sea snakes, black and white striped sea snakes. Very successful day.
I then had a hard upwind sail to the large island of Furlonga, where I spent several days kiting in the lagoon.
That is Saturday, 24th of September, and we are pounding our way hard upwind. Wind is northeast, we're trying to go east, and can't get there without using the engine, so we're motor sailing, and just want to avoid getting too much seawater on the iPhone. We have sunshine. We had pounding rain this morning. Came through a bunch of islands, had to stay awake a lot of the night. Every hour have an alarm on. There's the island that we're going to. Almost the most southeast. There's one more even further southeast in Fiji. But I'm not sure we'll go there. Watch this. Whoa! And whop! And bam! Almost got the bow under. And we have half the jib, staysail, and mainsail, and the mast hasn't fallen down yet.
And finally, a short upwind motor sail led to the nearby and most southeasterly island of Ongea, with a beautiful pass on the southwest side and a tight, shallow anchorage inside the lagoon.
Well, it's Tuesday, the 27th of September, and we are in the most absolutely beautiful anchorage you can imagine. This is a little island atoll called Ogea, but pronounced Ongea, and we are in a little bay with all these typical limestone eroded islands, a couple of other boats. Actually, this is Complicity over here with Brett and Tess on it, Corbin 44 that I met in Furlonga 2 days ago, which is back, you can't see it, way back over there. That's where we came from this morning. We came in through this little gap over here, very shallow, got in by a couple of feet. Now we wouldn't be able to get in, it's low tide. Oh, there you can see Furlonga in the back. And the rest of it, including really pretty beach with all the palm trees, and sitting under one of the palm trees, an old man who had cut down some coconuts and some papayas, cut them open for us, and gave us beautiful young sweet tasting coconuts. I'd never tasted such gorgeous coconuts, and the meat was incredibly delicious, sweet and delicate, really amazing. And there's our anchor. All right, what a place.
Tess and Brett on Complicity flew their drone to yield these amazing shots of this anchorage in Ongea. Thanks for these, Tess. In the next episode, I sail back west via the volcanic Moala Islands to the capital of Suva on Viti Levu and beyond to the west coast near Nandi.